This attraction at Universal Studios had one of the most expensive movies per minute ever created, costing $24 million for a 12-minute movie. An experience that offered a mind-blowing special effects stunt show that was the first time ever that a 3D movie had been combined with explosive live stunt work. Offering a quantum leap forward in live entertainment, this Stuntacular wowed audiences for 23 years before being replaced by a slightly different action hero. Come with me if you want to live. Through the history of Terminator 2 3D, the battle across time. Yeah, okay, my Arnie accent isn't great, but I had to try at least.
T2 3D.
I said I'd be back.
But this time, it's not just a movie. It's for real. Get down! Or is it? Now, join Arnold Schwarzenegger at Universal Studios for the world's first 3D virtual adventure. Terminator 2, 3D battle across time.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cyber system.
Are we in?
Easy money. Okay, listen to me, everybody. We don't have much time. SKYNET is your enemy. It must be destroyed before it destroys us.
We are back again with the Terminator.
After Universal Studios Florida had recovered from its somewhat rocky opening, it was once again time to look to the future. Though unlike last time, where they looked back to the future, this time they would look to a different alternative future for time travel based entertainment. Confused yet? Yeah, time travel was a hot commodity in the 80s and 90s. As early as 1992, the first murmurings of a new show based around Terminator would occur. Universal Hollywood had had many live stunt shows in the past, one of which had been running for 10 years. The Adventures of Conan, a Sword and Sorcery Spectacular, loosely based on the 1982 Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Conan the Barbarian. That show had begun in 1983 and was to be replaced in 1993 for a little show called Beetlejuice's Graveyard Review. Take a look at our expedition for that for more information on it.
This is no movie. It's live. A 20-minute sword and sorcery spectacular that puts you within inches of all of this.
Gary Goddard had created the Conan show and was told in 1992 it was to be replaced. He and his team were asked to try and design a stunt show based off the Terminated movies, specifically 1991's Terminator 2 Judgement Day. You know, the hit action movie full of chase scenes, explosions, and CGI. It could not be based around the first movie, as that was going through a difficult rights issues between James Cameron and his ex-wife Gail Ann Hurd, who these days is a producer for The Walking Dead. Goddard and his team initially struggled for ideas, with one of his team suggesting it couldn't even be done. The turning point, however, came when the idea was put forward of having someone on the screen stepping out into the audience with the use of 3D. While 3D had been around for a while, it was Disney who would be the first pioneers of using the effects in theme parks, with shows like Magic Journeys, Captain EO, and eventually Muppet Vision, which was the first to experiment with using live actors and a brand new story by the original franchise creator. Universal knew whatever they had to do needed to be big, bold, and spectacular to even get the approval of James Cameron, as at this point they did not even have the rights to use Terminator 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cyberdyne Visitor Center. Our special presentation of classified technology will continue in just a moment.
The initial plan was that the story would involve the audience with 3 massive 3D screens with actors going back and forth between them, all while including the use of a real motorbike within the theatre. It was not really a stunt show at this point, with the Terminator saving them from a Cyberdyne demonstration going haywire. They continue to flesh out this story, creating almost complete storyboards for the entire attraction without even having the rights to use it. Universal wanted to have a solid base to pitch to Carolco, the production company behind Terminator 2. Gary Goddard knew for this to go ahead, it would also need to be signed off by James Cameron himself. They had the technology, storyboards, and almost complete design for the show, and all that was needed left was this approval before anything could happen.
Their idea in this was to integrate a film show with a live show, which I don't think anybody's really done. And then the logical thing was do it in 3D so that the objects on the screen can become almost indistinguishable from the people in the foreground, and you can actually create this kind of breakdown of the barrier between reality and film reality.
When the meeting finally happened, where the Terminator 2 show was pitched, while initially against the idea, what he saw on the storyboards intrigued and impressed him. He thought he could make this even better. He improved the idea and suggested getting the whole cast back together, naming it Terminator 2 3D Battle Across Time. There could be no stand-in or guy in makeup for the Terminator. It had to be Arnold.
My discussion with MCA went something like, if we're going to do this, let's really do it. Because they had sort of said, well, we'll get a guy, we'll put him in makeup, it'll be kind of a generic Terminator. I said, there's only one Terminator.
That's definitely you.
If we're going to do a 70mm film based on the Terminator films, let's get Arnold, let's get Eddie, let's get Linda, let's get Robert. Speak of the devil, just as I spoke your name, you appeared like a demon.
Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Robert Patrick, and Edward Furlong all agreed to shoot scenes that James Cameron himself would direct. A short epilogue to the second movie showing an alternative version of the event's ending. In March 1995, the project was greenlit. With James Cameron on board, everything was moving forward fast. Cameron's digital effects company, Digital Domain, were to create the special effects for the movie portion of the show. Co-directed and helping with the visual effects and animatronics inside the theatre was legendary Oscar-winning visual effects artist Stan Winston. Winston had worked with James Cameron on Terminator, won Oscars for special effects on Jurassic Park and Aliens, directed horror movie Pumpkinhead, and was nominated for an Oscar for the prosthetics used on Danny DeVito's Penguin in Batman Returns. Not a bad resume. Brad Fiedel would also return to the score after having done the Terminator 2 one. This group of people would help create the 12-minute film that would accompany the live set pieces in the theatre. The pseudo-sequel to Terminator 2 was in production with James Cameron directing. Goddard and Universal were thrilled. This turn of events greatly exceeded their expectations. Before the live-action scenes were shot, a full-scale mock-up of the Orlando theatre was created in an aircraft hangar at the Van Nuys Airport in the San Fernando Valley. Here the stunt work could be choreographed to coincide with the film to get the timings down. The live actors would take on stunt double duty in the theatre and mime the real actor scenes in the show. This needed to be perfect and not come across as cheesy or cheap. The attraction set consisted of a stage surrounded by a trio of adjoining silver screens. Each of these 3 screens measured 23 by 50 feet and will be displayed using 6 iWorks projectors running 70mm print at 40 frames per second. 2 projectors were needed per screen, one for the left and one for the right eye, to get a convincing 3D effect. This technology was innovative for its time, and nothing of the sort had been done before, even without the live action portions thrown in. The reveal of the second and third screens would create another wow moment late in the experience, in an attraction that already offered multiple wow moments. T2 3D marks the first time ever the combination of 3D cinematography, digital composite computer graphics, and expensive live stunt work would be combined in one entertainment experience, and it would truly set the bar for in-park entertainment shows.
I said I'd be back.
With the full cast assembled, filming began in 1995 at the abandoned Eagle Mountain iron ore mine just north of Desert Center in California. Filming would take 2 to 3 weeks and consist only of night shots. The set was huge and truly looked like an apocalyptic future belonging in the Terminator films. There was definitely no corners cut when it came to making the audience believe this truly was a James Cameron project. Every single detail was created to immerse you once again into the world of Terminator. John Connor, the Terminator, and the T-1000 would film the majority of the scenes out in the desert with extensive special effects and explosions. Innovative rigging and filming techniques would be used to carry the 3D 2-camera rigs, which weighed over 450 pounds.
You show up.
Okay, here we go.
Come slamming in.
Stand by to roll. Stand by.
You skid up to a stop. You look around. Then you see the T-1000 coming.
Here we go. Stand by. Okay, here we go. Let's roll cameras. Roll cameras. And action, action.
I hit it like that!
James Cameron was just as intense, or, well, difficult in his direction during this shoot as he would be in any other. Regularly editing sets, changing camera angles, changing lighting, and more to make sure the scenes were perfect. Stan Winston was on set to guide the Terminator characters he had created through much of their performance, and John Bruno was manning the camera for many of the big action scenes involving explosions. Other scenes would be filmed using green screens and special effects technology to complete the attraction, creating one cohesive experience. With the shooting done, scenes could start to be meshed together with the live actors in the San Fernando Valley test facility. As the CGI work was complete, this also could be implemented and tested to see what worked and what didn't with the live actors. CGI would need to be changed if an actor could not move to their mark quickly enough, so small adjustments happened late into production. The only way to test it was to have it amended so Digital Domain was kept very busy during this period, even while they and Lightstorm Entertainment, James Cameron's entertainment company, were busy working on a production of a small film called Titanic.
That, and then,
Okay, if you want to full stop, that's easy.
I don't see how that's going to be possible until all this stuff is hard choreographed on the stage.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't see how that's going to happen until we start getting some more animation up here on the T-Mag.
2 new CGI Terminator characters were to be introduced during the film. The first, a T-1000, a guardian of the SKYNET core and a liquid evolution to Robert Patrick's T-1000. In an early draft of the show, Arnie and John Connor would be attacked by a squad of T-1000s, and when destroyed they would merge into one big T-1000. This, though, was changed. The other new character was the smaller Mini Hunter that would attack John Connor and the Terminator in the ruins of a car park when the flying hunter killer could not reach them. With the live action scenes locked in with the screens, it was time to implement them into its theatre in Orlando. Originally inside the theatre, as part of the attraction storyline, would be 6 T-800 endoskeleton soldiers, the same kind as Arnie's Terminator. However, James Cameron reminded the creative team that these did not exist in the current time and were from the future. He instead created a more modern, time-appropriate version, the T-70s. I told you this time travel business is tricky. These were 8 feet tall, 4 feet wide carbon fiber robots powered by hydraulics. As close to a real robot as you could get at the time. 4 of them operated in the Hollywood version, and 6 would operate in the theatre in Orlando, showcasing their firepower, with 3 emerging from each side. Perhaps the biggest highlight, though, would be the iconic Fat Boy Harley Davidson that Arnie uses in the movies would also be inside the theatre as part of the show. They could not use an actual motorcycle, so instead they ripped out the insides of a real one and reworked it so it would now ride on a substructure beneath the stage. This was attached to a rail system, similar to what you would find on a roller coaster under the stage. They also needed to find a way to have this motorcycle burst through the screen and head back into it in seamless fashion to merge perfectly with the 3D. No easy task. Production Research Group patented a technology that was used to allow the actors and motorbikes to enter and exit the screen through hidden doors beneath smoke effects and lighting. The effect would be achieved by a stage manager backstage, along with the technical booth activating the screen to safely lift when the actors were in place. An effect that was achieved in roughly 3 seconds. This is a similar effect to the launch in Escape from Gringotts. Production Resource Group would also implement a water spray effect into the theatre, adding an element of 4D to the attraction.
We're in the control room at the back of the theater where all the computers are tied in into one control panel that is supervised by a technician, mainly because of the live actors and their safety the technician allows the computer to go to its next sequence. If the technician feels that there's an unsafe condition or the show is not progressing as originally scripted, that technician has the ability to abort the show.
Before opening, the Fat Boy Harley was causing the most technical headaches for engineers in order to synchronize it with the on-screen image. The opening day Arnold actors would be the test dummies for the engineers, riding around on a Harley, determined to throw them off, until things worked.
The sound design for T2 Battlecross Time is unique because it's a 3D experience, and we're trying to enhance the 3D picture by creating an illusion of 3D audio in this venue.
State-of-the-art audio was implemented into the theatre, with the most sophisticated audio at any time in a theme park attraction. The 45,620 watt audio system surrounded the audience with more than 159 speakers that could change direction of sound depending on what would be happening on the screen. Over 100 miles of cable was used throughout the attraction, going from the sound booth. This really would be a giant leap forward in theme park stunt shows and offer some of the best sounding audio ever found. One final gimmick for the attraction was that every single seat in the 700-seat theatre would be able to drop a small amount at the climax of the show. This would give the audiences one last jolt of excitement, or at least fear anyway, before exiting. With the technology in place, the actors picked to represent the Terminator, John and Sarah Connor, as well as the T-1000 could begin their on-site training. One more actor was needed who would guide the guests through the pre-show and into the theatre, and that was the character of Kimberly Duncan, the Director of Community Relations and Media Control for Cyberdyne, and the real villain of the show. Super. The selected cast began their training before construction on the Orlando attraction was complete. They went through a multiple-day boot camp with Captain Dale Dye of Warriors Inc. His company makes sure Hollywood provide realistic military action in blockbusters, and even trained the cast of Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, and Platoon. 5 actors would originally be cast as the Terminator, with 4 of them sticking around for many years. Originally, the stunt actors were to wear prosthetics for the show to make them look more like the real actors. However, these were dropped due to breathing difficulties. With the attraction complete, cast trained, and costing a rumored $60 million, the opening date was set for the 27th of April, 1996.
If you like T2, then this is the third Terminator film, and you've got to come to Universal Studios Florida to see it, because there's nothing else like it in the world.
Boasting the most expensive movie per minute, featuring an iconic cast and a legendary director, the attraction was set to be a hit for Universal.
The third installment of this non-stop action adventure takes place at Universal Studios Florida, where a team of experts has created an unprecedented, state-of-the-art interactive entertainment experience.
It will be located in the Hollywood section of the park, hidden behind an Art Deco facade at Universal Orlando. The main storyline of the attraction is an alternative ending to Terminator 2 Judgement Day, showing a different chain of events after the Cyberdyne building had been blown up. Somehow the T-800, John and Sarah managed to escape via different ways, all undamaged from the police and the SWAT forces. Not all was a happy ending though, as the T-1000 went into hiding. Cyberdyne had recovered from the 1995 attack and had moved into a different headquarters. Cameron himself is quoted as saying, "Sure, it's only 10 minutes long, but it's definitely the next film. It's not a rehash of things you've seen. We take John Connor and the Terminator into the future war, an environment they never interacted with in the past films. T2 3D is actually a continuation of the storyline. It's a whole new ballgame, something people had never seen before. The hype was real." Guests would enter the queue line, head into the Miles Dyson Memorial Auditorium to check out a new demonstration of the Cyberdyne T-70 series of robotic Terminators. Miles Dyson is of course the creator of the microprocessor that would lead to Skynet's creation, portrayed in Terminator 2 by actor Joe Morton. An ironic name choice by Cyberdyne, considering his change of heart and major impact on the future of the company. What a way to rewrite the company's history. Inside the lobby is a stark contrast to the exterior, with an ultra-modern setting. During the queue line, guests encounter video screens displaying some futuristic Cyberdyne technology, and view CCTV like footage of guests in the queue line.
Attention guests of Cyberdyne. Attention guests of Cyberdyne. Cyberdyne is a high-security facility which houses top-secret weapons systems. For your safety, we request that while standing in line, you keep your hands and arms within the railing perimeters at all times.
There was also brief cameos from 2 characters featured in the movies. One is a security guard called Grayson Hunter, who pressed a silent alarm in Terminator 2.
Cyberdyne's chief of security. He was stationed as a guard during the fateful night of the attack.
Very clever hackers, these folks. They knew exactly what buttons to push. But with our new facilities, new security systems, it'll never happen again.
The second is Dr. Peter SILBERMAN, now a director of employee health and wellness for Cyberdyne, who cautions the guests that the terrorists from Terminator 2, Sarah and John, are still on the run.
Now, while we continue to actively seek Sarah Connor and her son John, along with the unidentified man, it is my personal goal, along with Cyberdyne's, to find these people so that we can help them lead normal lives once more.
Next, guests pick up their 3D safety glasses before entering the pre-show room. One of the few times 3D glasses were implemented and actually made sense story-wise. In later years, the Q-Line's TVs often only displayed the Cyberdyne logo after a brief attraction update. Here the audience is introduced to the first live actor, Kimberly Duncan, the Director of Community Relations and Media Control.
Super! Today, folks, you're going to be seeing a classified presentation of our latest, most exciting technology. How do you feel about that? Super!
Appearing on a platform above the audience, she introduces them to a promotional video of Cyberdyne technologies.
Imagine a world where butterflies run on batteries. Imagine a school system where children in Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Seattle all learn exactly the same lesson from exactly the same teacher at exactly the same time every day. Where a grandmother can choose from 5,000 television channels, and if she can't make up her mind, her television chooses for her.
And what the future technologies could offer the world, such as SKYNET.
SKYNET. When the SKYNET system comes online, this nation and its allies will be protected by the Ultimate Guardian, the first fully computer-controlled defense system. SKYNET satellites, in orbit high above the Earth, can read the license plate of any car, in any city, anywhere in the world. Commanding all our weapon systems in one coordinated force, SKYNET can react instantly with anything from a surgical airstrike using a single smart bomb to the deployment of 10 armored divisions or the 6th Fleet. SKYNET also commands the nation's nuclear arsenal, taking it out of human hands and thus reducing the possibility of error to absolute zero. Soon, we can all sleep soundly, knowing that SKYNET is running the show.
This pre-show Cyberdyne showcase was voiced by actor Jim Cummings, who is the voice of iconic roles such as Darkwing Duck, Winnie the Pooh, along with countless animated movies and TV shows. This whole presentation has a touch of humor, all the while getting darker and more sinister as it goes on. The presentation was actually later updated with new CGI, new technologies, as some of the technologies previously shown were now in existence. It's funny how rides are always themselves battling against time.
SKYNET. When the SKYNET system comes online, this nation and our allies will be protected by the Ultimate Guardian.
The video presentation at this point is interrupted very convincingly by John and Sarah Connor, who warns the audience about SKYNET, the Time War, and the events of Terminator 2.
SKYNET must never be completed. Get out of the building. You have been warned. You have 5 minutes before we look.
The future safer and friendlier for everyone.
Kimberly Duncan, alarmed by their appearance, phones security and tells the audience to ignore them and not to worry. She really is a villain. Super Guests then enter the 700-seat theatre, ready to witness the introduction of the Cyberdyne Series 70 Autonomous Infantry Unit, or the T-70 Terminators.
Ultimate application of our robotics technology, the Synthetic Soldier! Cyberdyne Systems is proud to present the Cyberdyne Series 70 Autonomous Infantry Unit. Or as we like to call them, the Terminators.
Before the show is interrupted by the live actor versions of Sarah and John, one appearing from the ceiling. John and Sarah shut down the T-70s and the alarm, but not before Kimberly calls security.
SKYNET means the end of everything, don't you understand? And we are putting a stop to SKYNET right now, while we still can. Shut those things down! Right now! Now, you people have exactly 1 minute. Mom, look out!
At this point, the T-1000 begins to morph out of the Cyberdyne logo on the screen behind the stage, before the live actor portraying him appears via a staged lift. John and Sarah hide in the audience not before shooting the T-1000, with very, very loud automatic weapons that fire blanks. Those marks on the floor really had to be followed perfectly by all actors. While they hid, the T-1000 activates the T-70s, killing poor Kimberly in the process. Definitely not super. At this point, the live-action Terminator bursts through the screen on the Fat Boy Harley, racing across the stage and shooting the T-1000 with a very realistic sounding 12-gauge shotgun.
I said I'd be back. Come with me if you want to live.
Go with them!
He's shooting up!
I'm out! Get out of here!
Sarah remains in the present, while the T-1000 quickly follows John and the T-8000 into the future. Some questions arise asking about the time travel, as they still arrived with their clothes on, but apparently James Cameron stated that this was a different time displacement equipment used to travel than in the movies. Got to cover those continuity errors somehow. Here, the extensive footage shot in the California desert unravels as John and the Terminator head towards SKYNET to blow it up for good. They are hunted down by the T-1000, and the audience is following along, filled with the classic 3D stuff in face. The T-1000 is shot in the face and they escape, but not before being tracked down by the flying hunter-killer, who shoots them off their bike and they have to run into a destroyed car park. 4 mini-hunters, the new characters, continue to hunt John and the T-800, and of course, shortly after are destroyed. John seemingly is about to be killed by a Terminator endoskeleton, but not before Arnie blows it up, creating one of the most advertised and promoted effects of any ride ever.
Hey, bucket there!
Friend of yours?
He was my college roommate.
A robot college Terminator movie. I can only dream. As the characters on screen enter the unguarded SKYNET facility via an elevator, they are heading to blow up the SKYNET central core. The theatre changes, revealing those 3 screens to the audience for the first time. Here, John and the T-800 fight the T-1000,000, a giant spider-like liquid metal creature guarding the core. The live actors on stage shoot and interact with the spider on screen before shooting a liquid nitrogen tank, freezing and subsequently exploding the enemy. Smoke fills the theatre and water sprays on the audience, giving the T-800 just enough time to blow up the core and send John back to the present. In this show, the live actors' timing was key. As the explosion goes off, smoke billows from the screen and lights flash as the guests in the audience seat drop. The Terminator has saved the day again, as John Connor and Sarah stand up on the stage in the present before disappearing.
So, the battle continues. And once again, I find I owe my son's life to the heroic actions of a machine, the Terminator.
An ending worthy of giving the audience chills. Again, super. This attraction was a huge step forward in what was possible in a live stunt show, and really was a pioneer for technology for its time. It could be said it was creating this attraction that introduced James Cameron to 3D, paving the way to the world he would create in Avatar. The attraction set the bar high for shows moving forward, and Universal had another hit on their hands.
Terminator 2 3D blasts you into the middle of an all-out cyber war where the action explodes off the screen into the theater. It's the most amazing 3D experience ever created. But I gotta tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. Consider yourself warned.
The Universal Hollywood version opened on May 6, 1999, replacing the American Tales Theatre and Fivers Playground. The press event here was complete with a performance by George Thorogood and the stuntman rappelling down from a helicopter. This version also had a Terminator-themed cyber grill attached to it. The third version opened at Universal's Japan on March 31st, 2001 in the New York section of the park. There were not many differences between the different versions and not many changes to the show in the following years.
It was terrific. Best one we've seen here. It was like right there.
Best show at Universal.
Awesome. Smoke that was coming out everywhere. Things that are popping out of things, interactive. You felt like you were part of the action, and it was really great.
In 2012, rumours were circulating that the Hollywood version would be closing, which did not bode well for the other versions around the world. The Hollywood version did close on December 31st, 2012, to be replaced by Despicable Me Minion Mayhem, a family simulator ride. The rumours did not indicate whether or not the Orlando or Osaka versions would quickly follow in its closure, but nothing appeared for the next few years. The Orlando version even received that updated pre-show in 2015, sparking rumours that it would stick around for a while longer. The show was still popular, and guest scores were still high. 2 years later, on September 7th, 2017, Universal Orlando announced that the last day for Terminator 2 3D would operate on October 8th, 2017, with no indication of what was to replace it. The version of the show out in Osaka is still operating, and has done for the last 19 years. There are currently no plans to close the show as of yet, so if you still need your T2 3D fix, head out to Japan. Hopefully one day they will release this iconic, expensive movie so that we can enjoy it in full quality at home.
You are completely enveloped in this 3D world.
Break it, and get it!
It just keeps coming at you.
We use environmental effects, 3D effects, it's the whole kitchen sink.
And that makes it huge, and it makes it wonderful.
That's the kind of experience I want them to have, and that's what we will give them.
They'll go in thinking it's just some gimmick, and they'll see that it's actually a continuation of the storyline. It's almost like a third Terminator film. It's just that you can't go to see it at any theater in your neighborhood. There's only one or hopefully 2 theaters in the world that you can go to see the next Terminator movie in. I don't think anybody's going to walk out of the theater disappointed, that's for sure.
It would be almost 2 years of complete silence before on October 15th, 2019, Universal Orlando announced what was coming next to the Orlando Theatre. Set to open in the spring of 2020, which would unfortunately be delayed by COVID-19.
Jesus Christ. That's Jason Bourne.
The Bourne Stuntacular will get a full expedition when it does eventually open. Terminator 2 is one of my favourite Arnie movies, other than of course Jingle All the Way. It is a rare opportunity that the person who created the franchise was involved in every way of a theme park attraction based on it. A perfect combination of thrills that expanded on the universe of the movies with something brand new, While James Cameron, as always, was his usual difficult self, once again, it had paid off to create something truly special, telling a brand new, original story within a theme park. With a perfect setup for the experience, horror, and humour, Terminator 2 3D, The Battle Across Time was one of the best theme park shows ever created, pushing technology, storytelling, and thrills to the next level, creating an incredible overall experience that even 24 years later, many attractions have failed to top. While I would have loved to have seen the show updated with new effects and 3D, sadly this would be one time that the Terminator would not be back. But hey, at least you'll never have to hear my horrible Arnie accent again. Hasta la vista, baby. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Universal Studios. Are you looking forward to the Bourne Stuntacular? Let me know in the comments below. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes, and a special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. Unlike T2 3D, I will be back, so we will see you next time.